Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of The Visible Workplace with myself, Dr. Thomas Rolley. Thank you so much for joining me. We are continuing a 6-week series here, and we are in week 3, the door. Now, the door is a powerful mechanism for getting things done in your life. This makes a difference. But there's some skill sets that we're going to talk about today with the door that could really revolutionize how you look at the amount of work that you're doing and what is getting done. But before we do that, a little bit of a recognition that there's been some tech upgrades. Yes, this is the first episode running a Sony, I think it's called a ZX5 or ZX4, something like that. I don't know. It's a camera that then feeds into Zoom. It has that lovely bokeh, something like that, something effect where the background is blurred, and pretty excited for that. This has been an upgrade to the podcast just to level up the audio, level up the video, and it's one of those things that really represents when to begin, just start with whatever you got. I started with my laptop and we used the camera in that, we used the microphone in that, and then upgraded the audio to this very fancy Rode pod mic with an M-Audio Air thingy, and then now the Sony camera. This is exciting. This is cool. This is progress. And this is a way that you can use to get started. Start with what you've got and then upgrade over time as you get better. But let's come back to the door. So last week, we covered in depth this idea of the code. If you haven't listened to that, I'd recommend you go back and listen to that, because that is going to underpin not only this week with the door, but also the next 3 weeks after this. If you don't have that foundational piece of the code, then even if you know what to do with the door, with the game, with the core, with the stack, which we're going to cover over the next couple of weeks, they have a significantly less potent effect on your life. You need the code under all of those. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and check it out and then come back and listen to this episode. So the door. Now, in the initial episode, I spoke that we were going to cover this in a little bit of a different order than I was trained on. I was trained on code first. We looked last week at code first. It is foundational. But after that, we moved to core and stacking. Now, core 4 is an idea that I'm going to look after my body. I'm going to look after my relationship with the universe or my purpose. I'm going to look after my family. I'm going to look after my business. Body being balance and business. And this was the idea of reverse engineered power. But you can have power and not use it and nothing will happen. And instead, I want to give you this door, because if you're listening to this, most likely you're already getting some stuff done. Perhaps you're not, but let's say that you are listening to The Visible Workplace because you're at work. Getting stuff done is important. And so the door is where the rubber hits the road and things get done. Now, if you're not doing anything, then this is going to allow you a structure for getting things done. But for those of you, and I assume that's the most of you, who are already getting things done, then guess what? We're going to refine that. And then next week, we're going to open up into the game. Now, these two, the game and the door, work together. But the reason I chose the door is that even if you're heading in the wrong direction, which is what the game sets up to put you in the right direction, it is much easier to turn a car that is already in movement, that is already in motion, and hang a 180 or do a U-turn and get back on the right direction than a car that is stationary. And that analogy of the car is, how much work are you getting done right now? You might be off course by 10 degrees, you might be off course by 60 degrees, but if you are getting things done, then things are happening and we can make that pivot. Next week, we'll look at what that pivot looks like, how to set that up with the tools of the game. But today, I want to cover how do you get things done? And the tool for that is called the door. And the door is a wonderful concept. This concept is that each week you will have a door to open. And the purpose of that week is to get that door open. And a door is special. A door is special. It allows you to set a particular one thing that's going to get done that week. So let's have a look at what kind of problems you might be facing right now in dealing with your work, with getting things done. And they can take a whole variety of forms. Now, number one, straight off the bat, you've got no place to capture ideas and work. And this is really common. People are either not capturing at all, or they've got multiple places to capture. There is no one single location for capturing work. And this makes it difficult. This means that it's easy to forget if it's not captured at all, or it's much more difficult to manage if there are multiple locations for trying to manage the work. If you have one place where you capture the ideas and the things to do, then this means you've got one place to look. If you look there, then there'll be a list of things that could be done. Not are being done, but could be done. You see, sometimes you'll have ideas like me in the shower, while exercising, while surfing, while on date night, while walking in the forest. Who knows? Ideas come in strange locations, and your ability to capture those and document them into one single place will make a big difference for you to actually have these ideas and find them again and assess them and look at them. When they're in that one place, then you've got an opportunity to make a judgment around what's going on. But right now, either you don't have anywhere to capture them, or they're captured in multiple locations: email, Evernote, a Google Doc here, some other way, an audio note there, multiple locations, so you can't reliably go to one place and say that's the work that could be done. Next up, hey, you got too many tasks. There's just things coming in left, right, and center, and you might be capturing them and they're getting built out, but there's just too many things to do. And this is a factor of having no ability to rank or prioritize those. I want to open your mind up to the idea that not all ideas are equal. Some ideas, not very much value. Yes, you could do them, but they just don't make that much difference in your life. And some ideas, other ideas, extremely valuable. They might even be big ideas that need to be broken apart into many segments in order to complete them. But if you capture them in the first place, then we've got an opportunity to not only capture them, but also look at them and assess them. Should this be deleted out of the gate? Get rid of that thing. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. Let's get rid of it. It's garbage. And here's another idea that's absolute gold. So this ability right now that you do not have for prioritization. We can look at Stephen Covey's work and assess across, hey, is this important or is this not important? And then also, is this urgent or is this not urgent? And getting those 4 categories then allows you to make an assessment of what's going on. Now, ideally, there's one particular category out of those 4 that is vastly more valuable. Do you know what it is? You probably do. It is the not urgent, important. Not urgent and important. Now, these are things that don't need to be done right now, but they do need to be done, or they could be chosen to be done and make a big difference. So being able to rank and prioritize, assess these ideas is extremely valuable. And then finally, we've got this last problem of no tracking. You were busy all week, and yet come Friday, 5 p.m., or maybe 9 p.m.,
You look back and you're like, whoa, what have I been up to all week? And you have no idea. Just no idea. It's like, whoa, I'm exhausted. I worked 8 hours. I worked 10 hours. What the heck just went on? No idea, because there is no tracking. No tracking of the work that got done. And so these problems of not capturing work, having too many tasks, no ranking and prioritization, and no tracking leaves you vulnerable to either working on the wrong things or getting to the end of the week, being exhausted and having no idea what got done. No ability to reflect across and go, hey, was that valuable? It was all just a blur of work with no real assessment of whether it made a difference. So what I want you to consider is a different possibility. Imagine that you had a location, a single location, for capturing your ideas, capturing work, capturing that which needs to be done. And this single location where you document these things gives you the opportunity to look at what's already on your plate. Can you delete? Can you delegate? Should this be done now? Should this be done later? Does it need breaking apart? Does it need more work, more assessment? Who else would be involved in this? But having them all in this one place gives you an opportunity to see all of the work that could be done. And from there, we've got an option to prioritize and assess which are the ones that would make a difference. And particularly with this idea of the door, choosing one not urgent but important idea to execute on for that week. And then looking at that and saying, well, what would be the 4 steps or the 3 or the 5, but let's call it standard 4 steps that's going to open that door? What would have to be done in order to get that door open and get that thing done? Get that idea out of a thought and into reality. And your mission for the week is to get that one thing done. And it might be a part of a bigger mission for the month. That if you had 4 of these doors that lined up and you opened all of these doors, then you would go from an idea of being able to execute a small idea effectively, one door getting opened, to the potential for you to open 4 doors and open a much bigger idea for the month. But nonetheless, the concept of the door is that one important, non-urgent thing gets split up into 4 things, 4 hits, we'll call them, 4 targets to take out for the week. And this then gives you the opportunity to have a win, that you could move them across into a space on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if you had just 4 spots for each of those days, that would open up for 20 places to go. Now, we've got a problem here. You've got 20 spots with 4 per day for 5 days, that's 20. And yet with this door, all we have is 4 things. So what else are you going to put across there? Well, now you have an opportunity to look at what else is on that list and bring them across. And each day, the opportunity exists to take out 4 important things in your world. Now, most likely, these are going to be around business, but potentially, depending on where you are right now, you might actually have, no, it's very important that I execute with this family holiday or this date night. And you're actually going to put that in there as an important thing, showing up that this is an investment that needs to be made, even though it's not in the business. But for most people, it's going to be 4 business things that got done Monday, 4 on Tuesday, 4 on Wednesday, 4 on Thursday, 4 on Friday. If you do all of those, then you have 20 things done, and the 4 hits that went into the door got done. You can then open the door for 1 more point, a total of 21 points available every week. And I want you to consider the power that this gives you in your business, that this gives you in your workplace, where you are executing each day just 4 things. They could be 5 minutes, they could be up to half an hour, but these get done, and ideally you have in your schedule space for these to be done. If your schedule is already so jam-packed with things that there is no space for this, then the question must come, well, what have you got in there? And if they are that important, then maybe they should be your hits for the day. Or you're confronted with the situation going, gee, I am doing things that are not very important here. And now you've got an assessment to say, you know what, if I did these things instead, these are far more important, and we would progress. So this opportunity to capture in one place, assess, is this important? Move across into your week, 4 per day, and then finally track. When they are done, you move them across and say, that got done. That target got taken out. And this is the tracking. And if I was to come to you on a Friday at 5 p.m. and say, hey, what'd you get done? And we could open up and have a look on Monday, what got done, Tuesday, what got done, Wednesday, what got done, Thursday, what got done, Friday, what got done. And you could look yourself and then go, wow, I have had a great week. Or, hey, I didn't have a great week. Or I did things that were important, or I did things that were unimportant. And no wonder I'm not getting what I want if I do things that are not the right things. So the door allows you this very powerful mechanism of capturing the ideas and moving them across to your week to get done. And when those things get done, guess what? Things get done. The results are created by doing the work. You want results. Whether you're being paid or whether you are the business owner, you want those results. Those things get done. And this happens much more effectively if we track it, if we can actually look. So how are you going to pull this off? Well, number one, you need to choose where are you going to put all of the ideas and all of the work coming to you. Where does that go? Where does it get captured? One location, choose it. It could be in a Google Doc. It could be in an Evernote. It could be even in the Warrior app. So at this point, I want you to know that Wake Up Warrior went along and created a software that does all of this. It's called the Warrior app. The door is perhaps the single most potent part for getting things done. It's not the only thing in there. The other aspects, the game, the stack, and the core are all in there as well. But for movement and getting things done and knowing that the right things got done, the door part of that software is ready to roll. It's got a section where you put all of the ideas, and this allows you to rate them and say, hey, this is important or this is unimportant. Unimportant, delete. Or important but not for me to do, delegate. Important for me to do, great. It stays on the list, and when that opportunity comes, is it a door? Great. Each week I'm going to have an opportunity to choose that and get it done. But the idea I want you to capture here is that you need a place to capture ideas, one location, and then the opportunity to go through and prioritize, delete, delegate from that list. Next up, each week, choose one important, not urgent thing to make your door. And then look at what steps would need to be done in order to execute that. Create 4 of them and then put them into your week. Are they going to be done on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Is there a sequence where the first 2 have to be done before the third one can get done, and all the first 3 need to be done before the 4th one can get done? In which case, you might choose to spread them out over the week. But it is a very powerful experience to have them early in the week and done. You know that critical idea, the door, got done by Tuesday. This is a great feeling. Next up,
have an idea that 4 of these things are going to get done each day. Not on Saturday, not on Sunday, but Monday to Friday, there is an opportunity for you to do these 4 things. Yes, the 4 from the door, but then another 16 for the week. And as you execute and complete these, move them across to the achieved column. The achieved, and say, yeah, I did this. This got done. You might mark it a different color. You might change the status of it from not started to working on to done. I don't mind, as long as it's tracked. So that come Friday, 5 p.m., you can look back and see what you did this week. So this tracking is very, very powerful, very, very helpful, particularly if you find yourself in a situation where the results take a little bit of time. You're like, whoa, why aren't I getting results? And then the ability to look at what got done this week, last week, the week before that, the week before that, and assessing and actually having the ability to look and say, well, hey, I said I wanted this result. Do these things that got done take me to that result? Yes or no? And if they don't, then we have identified the problem, that the things that got done don't get the results that you wanted. But if you could say, hey, no, these are the right things to be getting done, and there is just a gestation period whereby I plant the seed and then it takes some time before I get to harvest the fruit, then I can know that the right things are getting done. So this is the concept of the door. Every week, the opportunity to capture the ideas, assess and prioritize, select, execute, and track. And each week, this comes around. This opportunity for you comes around. So I think this is a very, very, very powerful mechanism. And even if you are not going in a particular direction right now, you are still getting things done. And when we combine the door with the game, which is what we'll cover next week, you'll begin to have this very powerful framework for how the daily getting of 4 things done leads to the week, which leads to the month, which leads to the year. And that which you thought was impossible can become your reality. Thanks so much for joining me on today's episode of The Visible Workplace. We're going to continue this journey into the Warrior's Way, which is what we've been looking at. Today, we looked at the door. Last week, the code. Next week, join me for a deep dive into the game. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you know someone that is struggling with getting things done, who is struggling at work, then please point them in the direction of the podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next time. Thanks for joining us at The Visual Workplace. This is a notification that the information and ideas discussed here are general in nature and do not take into account your specific circumstances. You should seek specialist advice for any medical, financial, emotional, mental, or other difficulties that you are facing with appropriate specialists and professionals so that they can apply your specific circumstances and give you the required advice. Thank you for joining us, but this is also a notification that all information is indeed general in nature and not specific for your personal circumstances.